Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. This is going to be video 2, I guess, of 4 in the 10.2 Warlock feedback series. And tonight, we're talking about Affliction Warlock. Now, Affliction got a handful of changes in patch 10.15, but there's still a few things that I think could be changed, altered, or something along those lines. Maybe make AF a bit more enjoyable and plus in rating. But I will say that AF does feel pretty good right now. The Seed cast time reduction feels good. Malefic Affliction being removed feels great. And it plays, I feel like, how it should have played in 10.0 for the most part, but there's always some things that can be improved. But either way, any weak wards, add-ons, and profiles you see in the video, like always, links to Twitch and Discord down below. We're for free for you guys. At the same time, I want to give one huge shout out, like always, to my patrons. Thank you all for supporting on Patreon, guys. I really appreciate it. If you look at supporting on Patreon, there should be a link up here, as well as down below in the description, as well as some links up here to Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so that being said, let's get right on into it. All right, so before we get into the feedback here, I want to preface all this by talking about one thing quickly. This feedback is going to be based off of Malefic Rapture as our shard spender and not Unstable Affliction. Yes, I like Unstable Affliction as my spender a bit more than Rapture. I think Rapture does things better in certain settings compared to UA and vice versa. UA is better in certain things than Rapture. But I think it's important to keep feedback relevant based on what's happening currently in game. And currently in game, the tree is structured around Rapture being your spender. Dot damage is tuned around that. Dread Touch tuned around that. Other abilities tuned around Rapture being your spender. Now, 10.2 is a larger patch. We've seen some class overhauls like Paladin and Shadow Priest in a sense in some patches like this, but this would be a substantial overhaul, making UA your spender from Rapture. And while it could be theoretically a possibility, I don't think it's very likely looking at how 10.15 sort of doubled down on Rapture with Dread Touch being changed to work with Rapture better, all that kind of stuff, right? So hopefully, maybe, possibly 11.0 new expansion, AF shifts back to UA as your spender, but it's important to keep feedback relevant. And sort of how I love meta demo. I think it's great. It was great, a lot of fun back in the day, but honestly, meta demo is very, very, very far from where current demo's at. So similar to meta demo, it's just not happening. I love it. It is what it is. It's important to keep feedback relevant, what's happening currently in game. So this feedback here is going to be based around Malefic Rapture as our spender, and that is that. So with that being just laid out, preface, all the upcoming feedback and stuff, now let's get into it. Alrighty, so getting into the feedback here, briefly off the bat, a few things changed in patch 10.15 for Affliction Warlock. For those that aren't familiar, Dread Touch now just takes UA on a target to basically proc whenever you cast Rapture. Malefic Affliction is now gone. Thankfully, it is now Xavius's Gambit, just a passive UA damage increase. They reduced the cast time on Seed by 0.5 seconds, and they also overhauled Doom Blossom, which is very cool to see. It now does a lot of damage in AoE, works off UA. It's strong and solid. It feels good. AF feels much better in 10.15 than it has the whole expansion, but there are still a few things that could maybe be changed to make AF feel even better. And number one is, at least for me, is Agonizing Corruption. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what to make this ability. There's some things, there's an Azerite trait in BFA, I forgot what it was, some seed trait you can maybe do, but for the most part, this ability reminds me of Hounds of War, sort of, for Demonology, where it sounds really cool, but in actuality, it just didn't really work very well. When it came out in alpha and beta, when this talent was spoiled, it looked really cool. You're going to have max agonies rolling really fast in Mythic Plus and heavy AoE, but it's never been played anywhere. It's just not very strong when your damage profile is Seed with with Doom Blossom, and there's Soul Flame explosions everywhere, and Dark Layers cleaving with Grim Reach, all that. It's just not very good. So I don't know what it could be changed to. Maybe it reduces the cooldown on Vital Tank. We'll get to that in a minute here. That could actually be a thing, but probably have to move spots here. Either way, likely needs to be overhauled or just removed and replaced with something. Maybe at a rank, like a rank 1 trait would be okay. At times you put a point like in Sacrilege as like a floater point. Maybe just put it in there instead, but honestly, it hasn't been played anywhere. And while it sounds very cool, I just don't know of a world where you would ever play it in its current form based on what AF does and what Mythic Plus and AoE just settings and profiles demand, right? All right, so getting into the heavier, the bigger nodes here, right? The first one everyone probably knows is going to be Siphon Life. Now, Affliction is one of the specs that still, I think, really suffers from button bloat in current and in retail. While you've got a lot of buttons to hit, I mean, your opener is Haunt, Unstable Affliction, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, Drain Soul, 3 section Shadow's Embrace. Then you have what? Singularity or Vital Taint, Soul Rot, Dark Glare, Rapture 3 or 4 times, Refresh Haunt, Drain Soul, trinkets, potions. It's a bit bloated, right? Now, Siphon Life has sort of also been a bit of an issue at times because of its interaction with Rapture, where there have been settings in the past where on 2-target, 3-target council-based fights, you would maybe in the past play Absolute Corruption. Permanent Corruption, you can run around the room, range the mobs, but it still stays on the target and does more damage. But sort of in a similar scenario, Siphon Life is not a permanent dot, but having it active on 2 targets means it's doing a bit more damage. It's a baseline dot on 2 targets, but it's also giving you an extra dot for Rapture. And hitting 2 targets with Rapture, both that have Siphon Life on them, is stronger than playing Absolute Corruption. So it caused this odd situation where you're not really playing AC in settings we're used to play AC at times, due to how the nature of AC, how strong it was, or yes, is. And you're really cramped for GCDs because you're maintaining Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life on 2 targets plus Vile Taint or Singularity and Soul Rot and a UA and Shadow's Embrace and Haunt, and it's a mess, right? Even in single targets when it comes to Siphon Life, not many enjoy playing with it. I think it's okay-ish, but there could certainly be a world where Siphon Life is changed to look something like this. So I believe this is the Wrath version of Siphon Life. When you deal damage with Corruption, you were instantly healed for 40%. That's sort of whatever. In addition, the damage done by your Corruption, Seed of Corruption, and Unstable Affliction damage is increased by 5%. Now, this is whatever. I mean, you could just do this straight up and increase this modifier by X%, whatever. Make it basically like your best option, like in single targets or whatever. But still make it where, you know, Absolute Corruption is better when it comes to like 2-target and 3-target and everything else. It'd be an odd balancing game of sorts, but at the same time, even if SL ended up being stronger in 2-target and 3-target and everything with this current, I guess with this form of it, nothing really changes. You're still playing it in these council-based fights anyways, right? But removing the button bloat that Siphon Life brings, whether it's in single target or even in 2-target or 3-target, I think it's pretty important. And this version of SL was, I mean, from what I've seen in previous feedback videos and things, been pretty well received. So, I mean, there are other ways you can make it work too. Just make it baseline buff your dot damage by XYZ amount. You don't need the healing clause on it. Either way, there's plenty of ways to tune Siphon Life to where it's still relevant, increases damage, maybe heals you a bit thematically, Siphon Life, but it's not the Siphon Life that we have currently, which is button bloaty and puts Rapture in a bit of an awkward spot, right? Now, number 3 is going to be the PS and Vile Taint, I guess, dual shared talent node here. Now, off the bat, tuning is a bit awkward with Vile Taint and Singularity right now. Our tier bonus increases damage whenever either are active. Vile Taint, shorter cooldowns, so more often you have Infirmity up, which is a 10% damage amp from PS or Vile Taint. Either way, so it favors Vile Taint more. But even before the tier bonus, Vile Taint was still the go-to in single target. And if that's what Blizzard wants, it's fine, I guess. It feels like, for a good bit of time, Singularity has been our single target dot, right? You put it up in single target, no shard cost, longer cooldown, but you Rapture around it in your Rapture windows, and it felt more single target, stacked, cleave based, right? Versus Vile Taint being a half-minute cooldown, 25 with the tier bonus, and applying Agony to every mob hit. Shorter cooldown, but cost a soul shard, which sort of goes against Dread Touch in a sense. You can still manage it, but it feels like PS should be our single target spender, or a single target, I guess, ability in this row here on spender. And Vile Taint should be more AoE, stat cleave, multi-agony dot application based like Mythic Plus, or just, you know, stack cleave and array with ad spawning, right? So I wouldn't mind seeing a buff to PS, shifting us back to that PS single target or stat cleave profile. And Vile Taint being more AoE based, more like ad spawn, stack cleave kind of based, and going from there. The next thing I want to hit on, it's still Vile Taint based, is the actual duration of Vile Taint. So Vile Taint used to be a 20-second cooldown. It was increased to 30 during late beta for Dragonflight. It's 25 now due to my tier bonus that I have on currently. But the thing is that when Vile Taint was a 20-second cooldown, you could basically, I mean, for the most part, maintain agonies permanently in AoE settings like Mythic Plus. When you go into a pack, you can, you know, Vile Taint, Dark Lair, and you can chain those agonies forever by just casting Vile Taint. But if you don't, like if you just go into a pack, let's say we're going into a pack now, whatever, we cast a Vile Taint and all this stuff, we're going in, I don't know, Seed, Vile Taint, put up a UA, right? Watch what happens here. So we're going in, casting Seeds, not the best opener, but it's fine. Here's my Vital Tank cooldown. Watch my Vital Tank cooldown. I mean, you can see it right now. 15, 14. My agonies are falling, so I have to start refreshing right about now. Agony, 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 agony. And typically it's cast a bit later and things, but either way, in 3 seconds, now I can Vital Tank. But I just refreshed all my agonies. It feels incredibly awkward when it comes to maintaining dots in AoE. Now, if your opener is, let's say, for example, you're heading into a pack, you can go like, you know, you precast Seed of Corruption, you go Vital Taint, do what you gotta do, a UA, whatever, put up a Haunt, Soul Rot, and then you go Dark Glare, right? Dark Glare extends the agonies, right? Now, look at my Vital Taint cooldown here, 16, look at the agonies, 15, right? Keep in mind, Vital Taint is a 28-second cooldown right now, 25, 28, whatever, depending on my tier bonus, however long it is. But what I'm getting at is that you can basically barely catch these agonies here with it being 25 seconds long. They actually just fall. But if it's baseline 20, you can maintain these agonies permanently in AoE if you have a Dark Lair effect or if you pandemic your initial agonies. It makes it so much better to play in Mythic Plus. So much better. And agony, like Vital Taint is not a tremendous part of your damage either. You're not rapturing Vital Taint's active, you're still casting Seed, right? It might make a little bit of a difference in single target. Maybe some tuning is needed based around that. But either way, and plus, having the ability to like permanently refresh your agonies with Vital Taint would feel so good. It would feel so much better comparatively to just having to go Vital Taint, cast some spells, refresh 5 agonies, and then right after you finish last refresh, oh, it's off cooldown. I can refresh them again. It just feels incredibly awkward. So if there's any possible merit to Vital Taint being reduced back to 20 from 30, I think it's very important to look at it and possibly do so. It says 25-second cooldown here, by the way, with my tier bonus being 5 off of it. It's 28 here. It was at least. I hit this dummy over here somewhere. EPP one. By the way, it's 25 with your tier bonus, but it's not enough. Going back to 20 would be great. And next tier, bonus is gone regardless. So you're playing 20 baseline. But having the ability to permanently refresh agonies in AoE would be incredible. There's a class that can do that actually currently. It's a Shadow Priest. I don't play Shadow. From what I understand, Shadow can do this, right? I believe it's through Shadow Crash, which applies Vampiric Touch, which applies Shadow Wear Pain, I believe. So basically every Shadow Crash should indeed apply Touch, which applies Pain via Misery, and it lasts longer, and touches baseline 21 seconds. But for the most part, if it falls for a second when you're casting a Shadow Crash, from what I understand, this is the interaction. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. Agony has to be maintained. But either way, Shadow has a baseline cooldown. Shadow Crash being 20. Let's make Vital Taint 20 seconds and drastically increase Ash quality of life in M+. And honestly, when it comes to the last 2 points of feedback here, like I said, there's not a whole lot of feedback in a sense. Some things can be like improved and changed quality life-wise, but for the most part, I think feels pretty good. 10.15 for the version we have with Rapture. But there are 2 points here I want to hit on. One is going to be Inevitable Demise. This thing is undertuned. It needs to be buffed. In single target, we play this, even on fights where you don't play Soul Swap at all. You play Soul Swap to skip ID to get Withering Bolt. It's 1 point versus 2 to get down here. 2 Withering, 1 Soul Swap. You put a point in Pandemic Invocation. This thing's fine. Soul Swap can be good on certain fights too, with the change to Malefic Affliction being removed, which is very cool. But ID is just undertuned. Now, there is the weird interaction, I guess the interaction with Grim Feast, right? But I want to clarify, Grim Feast does not increase ID damage. It simply channels faster, same amount of ticks, so you can go back to Drain Souling, whatever, faster. It's theoretically maybe a minor increase, but it doesn't affect the raw damage of ID. And even with it, it's not worth playing over just going through Soul Swap and or I guess PI in a sense, you know, this one to get Withering Bolt. Wouldn't mind seeing a buff to it. It's really not even played a whole lot in builds that play Soul Rot and AoE from what I've seen either, but it was played in 10.0. I think it got nerfed at some point, I think. Maybe, possibly, I don't remember, but it needs some buffs. It's a cool ability. I don't mind playing with it. It's cool having that big drain life stored up for at times, like a nuke into a prior target, or saving it for a big heal if need be. I played it a lot on Taros. It felt pretty good, but in its current form, it's not going to be played. It needs to be looked at tuning-wise. And I guess the final point here is honestly just Dark Harvest. Now, I don't think Dark Harvest is bad right now necessarily. There are some builds that play like this, I believe. I guess, okay, more like, I want to build this here, something like this, I think. Still, it's Grim Reach, Dark Harvest stuff. It feels okay. Grim or Dark Harvest used to be 5% per target hit by Soul Rot back in Shadowlands. And we didn't have Gluttony around, which is fair, but at the same time, it still felt fine. We had Decaying Soul Satchel around and Field of Blossoms, which stacked multiplicatively haste-wise with Dark Harvest, and it still wasn't OP. I don't think, like, you can make Dark Harvest 5% again per target hit. I think it'd be more than fine. It wouldn't be too OP or anything. It might increase Doom Blossom Burst a bit as well, but once again, I mean, if you're playing Doom Blossom over Dread Touch and Plus, like, this is a hard AoE commit talent here. Yes, Dark Harvest would make that a bit stronger, but at the same time, if you're opting to play, you know, Doom Blossom and Plus, you're not having like your single target's okay. It's not incredible though. You don't have Dread Touch around, right? So if you're fully committing to like Doom Blossom Dark Harvest, you know what you're doing. Even when it comes to Grim Reach Dark Harvest, it's felt fine when I played it, but it hasn't felt incredibly impactful. It feels like you can't really feel it. It's like, okay, I hit my Soul Rot, I know it's there, but like I can't really feel it. And when you had Soul Rot with Field of Blossoms, with Decaying Soul Satchel back in, you know, Shadowlands, right? You could feel it because you had a huge haste amp on you, right? With the multiplicative stacking. But in its current form, especially without Field of Blossoms, you don't really feel it at all. You just hit it, you know it's there, but like, it's awkward. So I wouldn't mind seeing a buff to Dark Harvest either, back to 5% per target hit, but honestly, besides that, the current version of Aff that you see here with Rapture, barring like the Siphon Life stuff, the Vile Taint Singularity stuff, Dark Harvest, this thing, and ID getting buffed or changed, I think it's in a pretty good form. I've heard that from a lot of players too. I was talking to Splat about it recently. So for the most part, I think people are enjoying Aff, but it could be even better. Button bloat Siphon Life out of here, probably rework, well, you know, tune maybe EPS a bit more in single target. Reduce Vile Taint's cooldown once, you know, this tier is gone for a baseline 20-second cooldown. Look at Dark Harvest, buff ID, and I don't know about this thing, something. But for the most part, honestly, I think Aff's in the best form it's been all expansion. And for what we have with Rapture being our spender, it probably won't get a tremendous amount better in a good way. So thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up. I guess hopefully you guys agree with those, I guess, general points on Aff and everything heading into 10.2. Like I said, for the most part, honestly, I think Aff feels pretty decent. It could be better if, I mean, in certain areas. Obviously, we covered the UA spender thing. I get it. Feels good, but it's not going to happen, I don't think, in 10.2. But either way, the points we highlighted here, the Vile Tank, I guess, you know, cooldown reduction, however you want to word it, Siphon Life things, all that kind of stuff, I think go even further when it comes to quality of life, and honestly, making Aff better, I guess, universally, whether it's arenas, PvP, Mythic Plus, or even rating. So we'll see where it goes. Like always, weak course add-ons and profiles, links to Twitch and Discord down below, all for free for you guys. At the same time, we're in the video, one more time, I want to give a huge shout out, like always, my patrons. Cross-board on Patreon, guys, thank you a million times. Really appreciate it. If you look at supporting on Patreon, should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description. Oh, I forgot to mention, the actual feedback document link's also down below in the description if you guys want it. It should have the class tree and Affliction right now, Destro and Demo, in whatever order they go up. One should be up, I guess, tomorrow as well. We'll be on it whenever I publish the video. I'm not adding it early because it's too much work doing it all at once and stuff. But yeah, if you want a text version of this, it is indeed down below in the description. All that being said, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. It helps out a ton, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.